I want to talk about how to get filthy rich, billionaire level rich, because that is a level of rich that you cannot attain simply by working in a high income profession and investing your money well. That is a level of wealth that takes a very specific set of circumstances to come about. And I'm going to walk you through what some of those circumstances are. There are essentially three ways to get that level of wealthy. You either have to marry into it, you either have to inherit it, or the third option, which we'll talk a little bit about now. I wanted to make this video as a little bit of a guide for myself to remind myself what the options are if I really want to make it, if I'm ready to lock in and do what it's going to take to make it to that level. So let's get into it. Really, that one way for most of us to become super fabulously wealthy is we have to own a piece of the pie. We have to become a founder, or at least have founder-style economics in whatever it is that we're doing. And so generally what that means is we have to own a piece of a business. We have to own a significant chunk of that business. Usually we get that piece of the pie when the business is relatively small, and then it grows in value significantly to the point where even if we still have a very, very small slice of the pie, it's worth so much money that we reach that billionaire level status. And there's a few ways that you're able to grow a pie to be $1 billion plus pie, and for you to be able to have a big enough chunk of said pie. And so route number one is kind of the famous route that everybody probably has in their head to some degree right now. And that's you go off, you found a startup, you grow that startup big enough, you get enough customers, you eventually hit the valuation, eventually you go public, and voila, you're a billionaire. I just made it sound incredibly easy. It's not, in case you were wondering, but that is essentially the method. You have to create a company, you have to own a significant piece of that company, and then you have to make sure that that company becomes worth a lot of money. And so the principle, the logic, extremely simple. The actual execution, how you actually go about growing a company to become that big, to become that important, that is a very different set of challenges that I'm not going to get into today. But that's the logic of sort of one of the most common streams to become a billionaire, at least, is you start a company, found a company, grow it, becomes very big, boom. But there's actually kind of two other routes that are relatively common that I want to get into as well. Outside of technology, you also have the world of finance, which is really, really good at producing billionaires as well. I will say that there is a commonality here in the sense that a lot of the folks in finance who become billionaires are definitely still founders. They founded the firms, or at least they have that sort of founder-style economics where they own a relatively large piece of a pie that ends up becoming very, very valuable. But what is unique about the world of finance is that you don't necessarily have to be a founder in the traditional sense to reap those massive rewards. So what am I talking about? Take the example of private equity, take the example of venture capital, really any corner of the financial world where folks are earning what's known as carry. So they're earning a percentage of profits. One of the unique attributes of finance in particular is the fact that if you're managing $1 billion or $10 billion, one, it doesn't actually take 10 times more resources, generally speaking, to manage $10 billion versus $1 billion. But if you have $10 billion to play with, it's certainly a lot easier to generate $30 billion in profits than it is to generate that much in profit with $1 billion. So as you can see, as the pie goes bigger, as you're managing more money, even relatively small slices of that pie become extremely valuable. And so that's why the financial industry tends to be quite effective at creating billionaires from these dynamics. The other unique part about finance, of course, is that a lot of the growth in finance, at least fee growth, earnings growth, that type of thing, it's levered to asset growth over time, not necessarily core economic growth. And at least historically speaking, assets grow far, far faster than the rate of income in the economy overall. And so for that reason, finance traditionally has been very effective at generating billionaires. So those are our first two categories. We got technology, your sort of classical startup founder, you grow a company very quickly and then eventually you're able to sell it, make it go public for a healthy valuation. You have option two in the world of finance where you're able to participate in a pool of profits that becomes big enough. But then you have option three. And this one is kind of a blend of finance and it's kind of a blend of technology as well. And so here's what it is. Number three is the world of media. Because the world of media, kind of what I'm doing right now, but executed in a much better way, you have the benefits of finance in that to reach 10 times the number of viewers, it usually does not require 10 times the amount of cost. Much like technology, if you find something that works, you're able to scale, you're able to grow extremely quickly. People literally go overnight from a nobody to a somebody in the world of media. So very wild things can happen. You can build huge audiences. And if you can build and monetize a huge audience, of course you have the opportunity to reach billionaire level status. What is unique and challenging, though, about the world of media is that I would argue it's by far the most competitive of the three niches I've talked about so far. There are countless folks who try and do not make it. And even a lot of the folks who make it aren't able to make it on the level that you're able to attain billionaire level wealth. So if you want to go down this path, I would say love the art, love the craft that you're doing, because it is not going to be easy. And honestly, if you ask me, hey, Ben, which of the three options should you pick? I'd actually say to go down the financial route, because even if you land among the stars as you're shooting for the moon there, you do tend to do quite well. Even if you're not attaining billionaire level status, I think you'll land somewhere quite comfortable. Whereas there's plenty of folks, you go into option number one. And if you want like the risk adjusted return analysis here, option number one, I'd say on the higher end is going to be the highest of all three that we've talked about so far. But there's plenty of folks who don't make it. You spend years trying to build something and it just doesn't work out. Option two can be similar, but I'd say the floor is a lot higher. The flip side is the ceiling is lower. So you're not going to become Elon Musk level wealthy, at least at the moment, simply by being in the financial space. But option number three, media, I'd say we don't actually know what the ceiling is on the space yet. I don't think we've seen creators with large, massive audiences really monetize that to the maximum degree possible yet. So I'll be curious to see what happens there. But with that niche in particular, there is no floor. There is absolutely no floor. And so it is a very brutal, tough space to make it happen. So I just want to summarize, what did I actually talk about today? Well, I made a little pep talk to myself about how you become a billionaire. And ultimately, if you want to reach those levels of wealth and success, it takes a lot of hard work, sure, but you also have to do it in such a way that the thing you're working on is something that is going to become valuable enough so that your piece of it is worth enough money. And that's kind of like the important mental shift. Just working for wage income is never going to be enough to get you there. But even starting a business, you have to start the right type of business that's able to scale to such a size that you'll be able to become a billionaire. So there's like multiple layers to it. Add in the fact that starting a business in any one of these industries that I've mentioned and actually making it successful is an incredibly hard thing to do. But if you want to make it, if you want to be one of those few thousand people in the entirety of human history that is on the list of people who are called billionaires, and you weren't born into it and you can't marry into it, this is the way.